Our show plays close attention to political horse races because we're a political show. So we naturally have to talk about the latest polls, which are the bread and butter of that. In a Banner, it used to be Baltimore, now it's Montgomery. So it's the Banner Commission poll. They said that 45% said that vote for Wes Moore, and 37% said they would vote for Governor Hogan, and another 14%, which didn't quite add up, said they're undecided. Mike, is the glass half full for the governor because he's 8 points ahead of former Governor Hogan, or is it half empty because he's below 50%?
Yes, I would have to say. I would have to say that. I mean, I think a race, if a hypothetical race like Governor Moore and Governor Hogan, I think is hard for people. It's hard to handicap and get polling on just because is it really going to happen? And if you get there, because I think both of them have strong bases of support, and so I think, and both have reasonable track records, and so you look at that and go, huh. So I think it would be great if I were Governor Moore to be about 50%, but given the popularity I think that Governor Hogan has had, I'm not surprised if that's the choice that you get a more mixed response. And I think the reality is that till Governor Hogan is actually in a race, it is just that it's a hypothetical scenario, and it's an interesting hypothetical exercise, but doesn't really hold a lot of water.
Jackie, do you agree with Mike on that?
Not entirely. I think that this is an incredibly scary poll for Governor Moore because, yes, I agree with Mike. Right now, this is all hypothetical. But if I'm Governor Hogan and I'm looking at that poll, I'm like, okay, I'm only 8 points behind and I'm not even in the race. I'm not even campaigning. I haven't raised money. I haven't been getting my name out there. So if I'm only down 8 points and Governor Moore is under 50%, I see that as a tremendous opportunity to get in and really come ahead. And you have, again, a very unique situation similar to what we saw with the 2024 election, where you had 8 years of Governor Hogan and 4 years of Governor Wes Moore, and you can do a direct comparison as a resident of the state and say, in which time period was I better off? And now I have the option to choose which one of those governors was better for me. And I think for a lot of people, including a lot of Democrats in this state, that answer is Governor Hogan. I encountered that a lot. We were knocking doors for his Senate campaign, and I talked to a lot of Democrats who said, I would vote for him again for governor in a heartbeat. I will not vote for him for Senate, but come back when he's running for governor and you've got my vote.
I think that's interesting.
Well, we're focused.
I guess I would say the part that intrigues me with that, though, is the fact that when Governor Hogan left office, he was at 65% approval, and he's coming back only at 37%. So, I mean, he's half of what he was. And so yes, I don't necessarily disagree with your 8%, but he's fallen half from where he was before. And so I think there's a really glass half empty, half full perspective for Governor Hogan as well.
Well, we're focused on Hogan, and so let me turn to Jackie. Are there other Republican candidates that might be competitive against Governor Moore too?
I think one of the big names that's being thrown around is Steve Hershey, and that's an interesting prospect because you have then somebody from the Eastern Shore, which is typically underrepresented in a lot of Maryland politics, whether it's the Eastern Shore out in Western Maryland and in Garrett and Allegheny counties. And I think that there's an interesting idea there of the underrepresented being represented. Unfortunately, those areas tend to be rather red, so that doesn't do much for us in a general election. But I think if Steve Hershey were to jump in, we could see a lot of support growing for him in a primary.
Mike, any thoughts about the Governor Moore's competition potentially within the Democratic Party?
Oh, I don't think there'll be any competition within the Democrats for Governor Moore. I think the one part of that poll that I think Governor Moore and his team are going to have to focus on is people couldn't identify specific things that they were generally positive towards him, but couldn't identify specific things that he had done. And I think that we didn't learn anything from the Biden administration. It's to be able to tell that story, especially when you're trying to accomplish, when you've done things where there are accomplishments, and make sure people understand and can connect those dots. And I think that's a really important message for his team to get now, to be able to say we're doing these things and make sure that's very obvious to folks. And so I think that's a good read for them to be able to act upon.